Chapter 353. Clang! The long sword was unsheathed, and the blade pressed against the neck of the centurion. Lin Muyu's gaze was calm as she said, "I have no time to talk nonsense with you here. Which corps do you belong to, and who is the highest commander here?" The centurion was dumbstruck and said, "We belong to the Cangnan Province Governor's Office, a corps directly under the Seven Seas Province. The highest commander is the Vanguard Captaincy Zhang Meng. Take me to see him immediately." Yes. In the depths of the dense forest on the side of the official road was the barracks, garrisoned with 10,000 imperial troops. However, these troops did not seem to be able to stop the invasion of the demon race. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan urged their horses to slowly follow behind the centurion. Along the way, many soldiers cast shocked gazes over. In the large tent of the vanguard, Captaincy Zhang Meng was in the middle of a discussion. A group of high-ranking officers with the rank of Chiliarch were divided into two sides. When Lin Muyu and Qin Yan walked in together, this Zhang Meng knew his stuff. His gaze glanced at the badge worn on Lin Muyu's chest, and he immediately cupped his fists and said, "General Zhang Meng greets young general." Lin Muyu asked, "You know me?" Zhang Meng nodded. Yes, during the spring plowing festival, this general was fortunate enough to see the true appearance of young general. As he spoke, Zhang Meng looked at Lin Muyu with some astonishment, and then looked at Qin Yan, saying, "Young general, how did you end up in such a sorry state? Weren't you celebrating in Winter Frost City?" "Celebrating?" Lin Muyu said indifferently. "The Yangwei Corps was defeated, completely annihilated." "What? Completely annihilated?" Zhang Meng was incredibly shocked and said, "What happened? Have you heard of the demon race?" "No." His face was blank. In reality, before this, Lin Muyu and Qin Yan had never heard of any existence like the demon race in this world. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "A group of demons descended from the sky and surrounded Winterfrost City for 19 days. We used up all of our provisions and were completely annihilated in the end. Young Prince Qin Yan and I swam across the Rice River by a hair's breadth to survive." Zhang Meng's face was full of shock. "Are those demons really that powerful?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded her head and said, "The demon race can defeat a human army of 100,000 with only 10,000 armor demons, and they have more than 100,000 armor demons now, so we can't defend this place. Where's Marquis Min Yulin and General Du Hai? They've all died for the country." Zhang Meng's heart was in complete turmoil. He muttered, "Then what should we do? When will the demon race attack Cangnan Province?" "I don't know, but it should be soon." Lin Muyu walked to the commander's seat and sat down. She raised her head and said, "Zhang Meng, bring me a pen and paper. Prepare a messenger bird to send to Lanyan City. I want to write a letter to Her Highness." "Yes." The pen and paper were immediately prepared. Lin Muyu quickly described everything that happened in Winterfrost City in ugly handwriting. She told the capital to prepare in advance, and then put the letter into the tube. With the sound of flapping wings, the news would reach Lanyan City as soon as possible, and the head of the empire would know about the demon race. It would take at least 2 days to fly to Lanyan City, but Cangnan Province couldn't wait like this. "Zhang Meng." "Yes, young general. What are your orders?" Zhang Meng was very respectful. Although he was the captaincy of Qihai City, he had seen Lin Muyu when Qin Jin was still alive, so he naturally knew the status of this young Grand Deacon in the empire. "Give me a map. The more detailed, the better." "Yes." A map was laid out in front of them. Lin Muyu looked at it carefully and frowned. "There are no rivers marked on this map?" "This?" Zhang Meng nodded. "Yes, but I can draw it for you. There is a tributary of the Daojiang River between Cangnan Province and Lingdong Province. Although it isn't very wide, it is still nearly 300 meters wide. For the convenience of marching, a total of 7 bridges have been built on this tributary of the Daojiang River, allowing war horses to gallop through." "Ah," Lin Muyu asked, "where are we now?" "Here, east of the tributary of the Daojiang River." "I see." Lin Muyu stood up and put away the map. "Zhang Meng, Are you willing to listen to my orders? Zhang Meng cupped his fists. Young General is the Empress's sworn brother and also the Grand Deacon of the Empire. This subordinate is naturally willing to listen to Young General's orders. Young General, please speak your mind. Yes. Lin Muyu softly said. Now, immediately pass down the order for all of your men to break camp and head to the west of the tributary of the Daojiang River. Then send down the order for all of the imperial troops stationed at the bridges to dismantle all 7 bridges and requisition all of the fishing boats on both sides. Let the people move to the west side of the river. The east side of the river is no longer safe. Young General, why is this tributary of the Daojiang River so important? Zhang Meng was confused. Lin Muyu lightly said, the main force of the demon race is the armored demon corps. As far as I know, these armor demons are afraid of water and cannot swim at all. So this tributary of the Daojiang River may be able to stop their footsteps to the west. Do it immediately. If it is too late, perhaps the demon race will be able to swallow all of the Empire's territories. In addition, the armor demons eat humans. Do not have the intention to discuss conditions with the demon race. They do not treat us as equal creatures. Zhang Meng was frightened when he heard this. He nodded and said, yes, this general will do it now. In the afternoon, the army set off and headed directly to the west side. After crossing the iron chain bridge, they immediately cut the iron chain. Lin Muyu did not know how big Zhang Meng's military power was, but he could only do this much. On the surface of the tributary of the Daojiang River, fishing boats came and went and many commoners were also moving. Later on, Zhang Meng came back with a few pieces of used letter and said with a dignified expression, Young General, 3 of the 7 bridges have been dismantled, but there are still 4 that do not dare to dismantle the bridges. At this time, the relationship is very big, and they must obtain the approval from the 5 Valleys governor's residence before they dare to dismantle the bridges. What should be done? Is that so? Lin Muyu clenched her teeth and said, what is the military position of the people who are guarding the bridges? Colonel rank Chiliarch. That's good. Zhang Meng, you personally bring people to dismantle the bridges. I will bear any responsibility. Prepare 2 fast horses for me. I will go to the 5 Valleys city to get the approval. This matter must be done immediately, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Yes, this subordinate understands. A little later, they brought dry rations and left on 2 fast horses. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan were burning with anxiety. Perhaps other people did not know the pros and cons, but the 2 of them could not be more clear. As long as the demon army crossed the river, how would the Empire's flat land be able to resist Lei Chong's army of 100,000 armor demons? 2 days later, 5 Valleys City. The population of 5 Valleys City had already become very sparse. After Lin Muyu and Qin Yan entered the city, they felt the desolation of this place. It was no longer as prosperous as the 7 great cities. And at this time, the culprit behind the poisoning of nearly 2 million people in 5 Valleys City had 100,000 soldiers stationed in 5 Valleys City. When Lin Muyu arrived at the governor's residence, she saw Xiang Yu. Take him down. This was the first sentence Xiang Yu said when he saw Lin Muyu. All around, a group of 7 Seas city soldiers opened their bows and pointed straight at Lin Muyu and Qin Yan. Xiang Yu held the bloodthirsty spear with a face full of smiles. Xiang Yu, what do you mean? What do I mean? Xiang Yu raised his eyebrows and said, I heard that an army of the so-called devil race appeared in Winter Frost City and annihilated the entire Yangwei Legion. Let me ask you, are people who escaped under such circumstances not considered deserters? Impudent. The fire serpent spear in Qin Yan's hand was surrounded by flames, and it looked like he was about to attack. At this time, Xiang Yu sneered, and an invisible aura pervaded the surroundings. Under the pressure of a divine domain expert, Qin Yan was actually unable to move, and the fire serpent spear in his hand couldn't move at all. Lin Muyu's gaze turned cold, and she silently circulated the 7 planets' profound energy. Suddenly, rays of starlight flickered on her body, and the prelude of the 7 planets' transformation forcefully crushed Xiang Yu's domain pressure. You still dare to attack me? The long spear in Xiang Yu's hand was vast and mighty with the power of primal chaos. He laughed loudly and said, I originally didn't want to kill you for Chu Huai's sake, but you forced me to make a move. After Xiang Yu stepped into the divine domain, he became more and more arrogant. With a sweep of his long spear, he used the seventh form of the Primal Chaos 9 strikes, Primal Chaos Annihilation. The surrounding space seemed to solidify, and the power of Primal Chaos frantically devoured all power. Lin Muyu didn't give in either. Her right arm gently moved backward, and the power of the stellar arts in her body surged into her arm, quickly accumulating the third form of the stellar arts. 5 mountains descend from the heavens. A mass of stardust energy transformed into the mountain constellation, and it blasted straight at Xiang Yu's long spear. Bang! The two extremely powerful forces collided, and an astonishing shock wave immediately erupted. A group of archers were pushed back one after another. Xiang Yu retreated several steps, and the palm holding the bloodthirsty spear was slightly numb. He felt that the power of Lin Muyu's attack was very strange. The 5 mountains descend from the heavens. Profound energy was like rock and metal, and it poured into his arms, making him unable to move as usual. Lin Muyu was also shaken back a few steps, and a burning pain came from her arm. The wound seemed to have been torn open. However, Lin Muyu's heart was more ecstatic. The third form of the stellar arts was enough to tie with Xiang Yu. If she used the God-binding chain's martial soul, Xiang Yu would most likely be defeated by this strike. This was enough to prove that her power was already above Xiang Yu's. Even though he was a divine domain expert, he lost more than 1.5 stars in terms of heart techniques and moves. Do you want to escort me back to Lanyan City? Lin Muyu said indifferently. Then call your personal guards to rush back to Lanyan City with me. However, the demonic army will enter Cangnan province soon. If you, the frontline commander, can't defend it, then bring your head to see Xiao-yin. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth. Originally, he planned to put Lin Muyu in the prison carriage and send him back to Lanyan City, but now it seemed to be a little difficult, so he could only send people to escort him back. Thus, he raised his eyebrows and said, My lord, 1,000 soldiers, escort Lin Muyu back to Lanyan City, and let Duke Lan deal with him. Yes. Escorted by 1,000 cavalrymen. This was a lineup that was flattering and flattering. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan smiled slightly, turned over and mounted their horses, and rushed in the direction of Lanyan City, eager to return. Chapter 354. 3 days later, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet in the height of summer. The cool breeze swayed the willow trees outside the city, giving out rustling sounds. There was an endless stream of merchants and travelers outside the city. Lanyan City was different from the Five Valleys city. Even after the city was massacred, it was still very prosperous. In addition, a large number of people from Yunzhong province and Seven Seas province had migrated over, which made this imperial capital not lose its former prosperity. Lin Muyu and Qin Yan were already stopped when they entered the city wearing their armors. When the centurion on duty brought them to Zhang Wei was already stunned. Darren, you are finally back. Zhang Wei jumped up and directly hugged Lin Muyu and laughed out loud. Old Zhang had always been worried that you would be killed by the demon race. Lin Muyu hurriedly pushed him away and asked, Lord Zhang Wei, have you received the letter that we sent back from Cangnan province? And long received it. Let's go. We will go to Zetian Hall now. It is currently the afternoon meeting time. Good. Even though the entourage that Xiang Yu sent was filled with enmity, but as Zhang Wei was the deputy commander of the imperial army, they could not defy him and could only follow him up to the hall. Lin Muyu didn't even have time to change her blood-stained armor before she walked into the Zetian Palace Hall. There weren't many officials in the Zetian Palace Hall, but they were all important ministers who held great power. Su Muyun, Tang Lan, Xueling, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, Su Yu, and the others were all there. In addition, there was also the Minister of Revenue and a large group of civil and military officials. Temple Great Deacon Lin Muyu requests an audience. The shouts of the officials were incessant. Little Prince Qin Yen requests an audience. Lord Zhongwei requests an audience. On the emperor's throne, Qin Yin was wearing a long robe embroidered with golden purple flowers. She suddenly sat up and dark blue tassels hung down the side of her skirt. Her hand held onto the hilt of the purple sword as she looked into the distance. Suddenly she could not bear it and stepped down the king's steps. "Your Highness," Su Muyun coughed and said, "please maintain your dignity." Qin Yin stopped in her tracks and stood a few meters away from Lin Muyu. Her starry eyes were filled with nostalgia as she looked at him. She moved her red lips and murmured, "Big brother Yu, are you all right?" Lin Muyu took a step forward and knelt on one knee in front of Qin Yin. She said in a low voice, "Lin Muyu greets your highness. Xiaoyin, I'm fine. However, except for me and Ayen, the rest of the Yangwei Legion has been annihilated." "And get up." Lin Muyu stood up. After looking around, she discovered that the atmosphere wasn't quite right. Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and the others were looking at her with anxiety in their eyes. As for Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Tang Lu, and the others, their eyes were filled with ridicule. "Min Yulin died in battle. Isn't that right, Grand Deacon?" Tang Lu suddenly asked with a smile. "Yes." The Marquis of Wei, Min Yulin, who commanded 50,000 elite soldiers, died in battle in Winter Frost City. Why was Grand Deacon able to return to Lanyan City unscathed? Could it be that it was really as Xiang Yu's letter said? Grand Deacon fled at the last moment and abandoned the dignity of a soldier of the Empire, abandoning Min Yulin and the others? Tang Lu's eyes were filled with ruthlessness as he asked in a low voice, "Lin Muyu, as the Grand Deacon of the Holy Temple, have you forgotten the dignity of a soldier of the Empire? I didn't flee at the last moment." Lin Muyu looked at him indifferently and said, "Xiang Yu is one of your people. There's no need to echo each other and pour dirty water on me. If I wanted to flee, I would have done so long ago. Why would I wait until Winter Frost City was breached?" "Is that so?" A trace of pride flashed through Tang Lu's eyes as he said, "I knew you would deny it. Fortunately, we still have a witness. Someone, bring the witness to Zetian Palace Hall." Lin Muyu's gaze was grave and stern as he looked at Tang Lu calmly. He didn't know what the so-called witness was. Qin Yen, on the other hand, was incomparably furious as he gnashed his teeth. Qin Yin was somewhat displeased as she frowned slightly and said, "Marquis of North Ridge, you clearly know that Lin Muyu is my sworn brother. Why do you have to make things difficult for him?" Tang Lu cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Your Highness, this general isn't trying to make things difficult for you. This is the truth. Your Highness, just watch. The truth will come to light very soon." "Oh?" The corner of Qin Yin's mouth rose as she said indifferently, "Marquis of North Ridge, if you don't have sufficient evidence to say that Lin Muyu fled at the last moment, then don't blame me for stripping you of your noble title." Tang Lu was startled. Tang Lan, who was beside him, frowned and didn't say anything. As one of the two dukes of the Empire, Tang Lan held half of the Empire in his hands. It was unknown when he had started to hide behind the scenes, but all the decrees were completed by Tang Lu and Tang Tian. A few minutes later, under the protection of a group of Zetian Palace Hall's warriors, a general wearing broken armor walked into the main hall. When he arrived in front of Lin Muyu and Qin Yen, Lin Muyu almost crushed his steel teeth. "Shihua!" Lin Muyu. Shihua's face was full of anger as he said, "You didn't expect that I would be able to fight my way out of the Winter Ridge province alive, right? You're a cowardly rat who doesn't dare to cross swords with the devil race. Do you still have the face to return to Lanyan City?" As he spoke, Shihua suddenly turned around and cupped his fists toward Qin Yin, saying, "Your Highness, on the 12th of August, Winter Frost City was breached by the devil race. 100,000 armored devils besieged the Yangwei Legion. The Marquis ordered us to fight to the death, but I didn't expect that Lin Muyu would lead his troops and retreat from Winter Frost City early on. He took the opportunity when we were fighting the devil race and escaped without a trace. There are even rumors that he colluded with the leader of the devil race. Your Highness, please investigate this." "You're talking nonsense." Qin Yin's gaze was like a sharp sword. Big brother Yu isn't that kind of person. Someone, drag Shi Hua away and behead him. Tang Lu hurriedly said, Your Highness, General Shi Hua is reasonable and not talking nonsense. Shi Hua, why don't you take out your evidence? Shi Hua gnashed his teeth and looked at Lin Muyu. He took out a broken battle flag from his bosom, which had a faint Min character on it. He also untied the sword at his waist and wrapped it in the battle flag. He said, Your Highness, before Marquis Min Yulin died in battle, he entrusted me to pass this to Your Highness. In addition, the Marquis also asked me to pass on some words to Your Highness. Speak. Qin Yin said indifferently. Shi Hua said, The Marquis said that Lin Muyu recruited soldiers without authorization and was very autocratic in the army. She had long had the intention to be a disloyal subject. Moreover, the Yangwei army's rations had always been personally planned by Lin Muyu, but they were easily attacked by the armor demons of the demon race, causing their rations to be cut off. Someone must have snitched on her. On the 30th day of the 7th month, Lin Muyu brought people out of the city to pull out the poisoned arrows from the demon race and brought the plague into Winter Frost City, killing tens of thousands of the Empire's troops. On the 9th day of the 8th month, the tunnel that Commander Chai Hong was digging was also discovered by the demon race. The only people who knew about it were the few commanders and Lin Muyu. Someone must have snitched on her. The few commanders have already died in battle, and only Lin Muyu is still alive. Everything has proven that Lin Muyu colluded with the enemy and long ago colluded with the leader of the demon race. Your Highness, you can't tolerate him just because he's your sworn brother. Otherwise, Qin Yin was exasperated. He pointed at Shi Hua and shouted, You're slandering me, you beast! Slandering me! Qin Yin's gaze fell on Lin Muyu, and she said softly, Big brother Yu, tell me that what he said is false. Lin Muyu's heart was filled with a myriad of emotions. It was full of bitterness, but she couldn't say it. She cupped her fists and said, Your Highness, part of what he said is true, but there's also a part that he didn't say. And, Big brother Yu, speak. Lin Muyu turned to look at Shi Hua and said, The day before Winter Frost City was breached, Shi Hua and his subordinates dug up the corpses of the Empire's soldiers who died in battle and cooked them. When the Marquis was about to condemn them, Shi Hua betrayed the Empire. He led the 5,000 troops of Seven Seas City and opened the south gate of Winter Frost City with the intention of leaving. This directly led to the fall of Winter Frost City. Shi Hua's body trembled, and he pointed at her. You're slandering me. Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold, and she shouted in a low voice, Shi Hua! Winter Frost City was surrounded on all sides. You know the battle strength of tens of thousands of armored demons, and so do I. I only managed to escape with Yen by a hair's breadth. With your ability, how could you have escaped? Moreover, you have the Marquis' sword and war flag. There's only one explanation. You surrendered to the demons and agreed to be a slave. That's why they let you go back to Lanyan City and used you as a spy to breach Lanyan City. Isn't that right? Shi Hua's face turned red, and he said angrily, Don't you try to mislead people and frame me. Behind Shi Hua, Tang Lu's face was also livid. He said, Lin Muyu, the truth is right in front of us. There's no room for you to quibble. You did run away at the last moment. Don't you admit it? Shi Hua is a brave general of our Seven Seas City, and he has always been at the forefront of the army. He won't lie. I can guarantee it with my life. Then your life is too worthless, Yi Zichen said coldly. Lin Muyu sneered as she looked at Tang Lu. Suddenly, she pulled out the dragon spirit's sword from her waist. With a poochie sound, the sword's blade pierced through Shi Hua's back, piercing his heart. Oh my God! Everyone was shocked. No one expected that Lin Muyu would suddenly kill Shi Hua. Lin Muyu! Tang Lu looked at the fallen Shi Hua, and his face turned pale. You're crazy. You're a lunatic. You actually dare to kill someone in Zetian Palace Hall. Do you still have Her Highness in your eyes? You? Big brother Yu. Qin Yin also looked at him in confusion. Clang! The dragon spirit sword suddenly pierced into the jade bricks in front of the palace hall. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at Qin Yin, who was on the king's step, and murmured, "Xiao Yin, the invasion of the devil race is imminent. Once they cross the Dao River, they will be able to sweep across the Qin Empire and destroy it. This empire will soon cease to exist. I don't want to waste a single second arguing with these sycophants. If Shihua was really that brave, he wouldn't have been killed by me. Time will prove everything. I will accept any punishment, but we must quickly send reinforcements to Five Valleys City and Divine Shadow City, and set up defenses along the tributary of the Dao River. Otherwise, once the devil race crosses the river, it will be too late to say anything." Feng Jixing murmured, "You, are the devil race really that powerful?" "Yes." Lin Muyu lightly nodded and said, "Big brother Feng, once we face the devil race, we must be careful. They have at least 100,000 armor demons. The battle strength of an armor demon is equivalent to 20 elite soldiers of the Empire." "What?" Feng Jixing turned pale with fright. Chapter 355. Men. Tang Lan's gaze was cold as he said indifferently, "Lin Muyu assaulted and killed an important official in front of the palace. He deserves the death penalty. Remove his chief deacon badge and throw him into the death cell. He will be executed tomorrow at noon." Qin Yin hurriedly said, "Duke Lan, I am the emperor. I have to make the decision on this matter." Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, no matter how close Lin Muyu is to you, and no matter what kind of person Lin Muyu is, he publicly killed someone in Zetian Palace. This is enough to prove his disloyalty. I hope your Highness can handle this matter impartially. Don't let the officials here be bitterly disappointed. Although the empire belongs to the Qin family, it was exchanged with your lives." In an instant, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and the other important officials all knelt down. "Your Highness, please execute Lin Muyu." "You guys." Qin Yin bit her red lips and looked helplessly at Su Muyun. However, Su Muyun only nodded and stood in place without saying a word. At this moment, Feng Jixing and Wei Chou knelt down together. Feng Jixing said, "Your Highness, although Lin Muyu killed Shihua, in my opinion, Shihua is indeed a very evil person. He dared to open the gate of Winter Frost City without permission and defected to the enemy. It is not wrong for you to kill him. Please, your Highness, pardon Yu's crime." Qin Yen knelt down and said, "Cousin, Big Brother made great contributions in the Battle of Winter Frost City. He killed hundreds of armor demons alone. No one can compare to this kind of contribution. We can't kill a meritorious official." "Oh right." The Marquis gave Big Brother a token before the final battle and asked him to bring it to your Highness. Qin Yin was delighted. "Big Brother Yu, what is it?" Lin Muyu took out Min Yulin's cloth from her Chenkuan bag and handed it to Qin Yin. Qin Yin unfolded it and saw the words, "I will not let you down," written in blood. Tears welled up in Qin Yin's eyes as she said, "Marquis Wei, dying in Winter Frost City is such a pity?" Tang Lan knelt on the ground and cupped his fists. "Your Highness, please punish Lin Muyu." Lin Muyu also knelt on one knee and said in a low voice, "I beseech Xiao Yin to immediately send reinforcements to the Daojiang branch to resist the demon army." Suddenly, someone in the crowd burst into laughter. His laughter was incomparably arrogant. Everyone looked over and saw that it was a man wearing a general's robe with 3 golden hexagrams on his shoulders. He had the rank of general, and his eyes were extremely cold. "Marquis of the Tranquil Sea, Yao Yuan, what are you laughing at?" Su Muyun asked calmly. Yao Yuan was still laughing heartily, and tears were about to fall from his eyes. "Duke Yun? Oh, Duke Yun, don't you see?" In the main hall, one of them requested to be killed, while the other requested your Highness to send reinforcements to the border. Isn't it obvious who is a sycophant and who is a loyal subject? Yao Yuan. Tang Lan looked back with a cold gaze. "Are you saying I'm a sycophant? I wouldn't dare." Yao Yuan cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Duke Lan has saved the nation. So how could this general dare to call you a sycophant? However, does Lin Muyu have a reason to defect to the enemy? I really can't think of one. Tang Lan snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Qin Yin said gently, Duke Lan, you see, there is no absolute evidence to prove that Brother Yu colluded with the enemy. Moreover, Shi Hua has already been killed, and Brother Yu is Imperial Father's adopted son. Is his life not worth a captaincy? Your Highness's words are not reasonable. Tang Lan said, not to mention the fact that Shi Hua is a captaincy, even if he is just an ordinary soldier, no one can easily take his life as long as he has shed blood and sweat for the empire. Although Lin Muyu is the former emperor's adopted son, he is still only an adopted son. He is not a member of the Qin family. What did you say? Qin Yen said angrily, Big Brother has risked his life for the empire and is also the former emperor's adopted son. What right do you have to say that he is not a member of the Qin family? Tang Lan looked on coldly and didn't say anything. Behind her, Tang Lu laughed coldly and said, So what if he is an adopted son? Lin Muyu has no blood connection with His Majesty, nor does he have any blood connection with Her Highness the Empress. What right do you have to say that he is a member of the Qin family? Since he is not a member of the Qin family, there is no reason to pardon any of his crimes. Qin Yin bit her red lips. You are disobeying my edict like this. Does this count as rebellion? As long as I still stand on this throne, I am the ruler of Great Qin. Tang Lan, you are one of the two dukes. Why do you keep bumping into the emperor without knowing it? Tang Lan was startled. He had never thought that Qin Yin would speak like this. He hurriedly knelt down, and all the officials in the hall knelt down as well. At this time, Lin Muyu looked coldly at Tang Lan, Tang Lu, and the others, saying, What are you trying to do? Do you just want to kill me? Or, after I prove my bloodline, will you stop bothering me? Do you know that the citizens of the empire in Lingdong province are being slaughtered by the demon race? What are you trying to do? Anger rose continuously from the bottom of his heart. The battle chi around him revolved rapidly, forcing the people around him to retreat. A golden light broke out from the ground. It wasn't a golden gourd, but a resplendent golden god-binding chain. It floated in the air, and a second god-binding chain appeared around Lin Muyu. Soon, 8 shimmering golden god-binding chains surrounded Lin Muyu, full of dignity. Battle chi surged out in all directions, making it almost impossible to open one's eyes. God-binding chain. Tang Lan's heart instantly went cold. Feng Jixing's eyes also widened. God-binding chain. How can you have God-binding chain? Su Muyun's brows furrowed. God-binding chain. That is the exclusive martial spirit of the Qin bloodline. Lin Muyu looked at everyone with a burning gaze. After a low shout, the God-binding chain martial spirit completely dissipated into his body. He said indifferently, Do you see? Do I count as a member of the Qin clan? He raised his hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. His eyes were filled with disappointment as he looked at everyone and said, If you want to kill me, if you want to seize power, go ahead, but don't bully me too much. Otherwise, don't blame me for doing something crazy. Tang Lan, Su Muyun, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. Let me tell you, don't force me anymore. Otherwise, even if you have thousands of soldiers protecting you, I will still chop off your heads as a sacrifice to those who died in vain. As he spoke, he walked out of the Zetian palace. Outside, the sky had turned dark. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A storm was about to descend. Tang Lan and Su Muyun stood there dumbstruck. No one would have thought that Lin Muyu would say so many treasonous words. Large raindrops fell on his body like pearls. Lin Muyu walked quickly on the main road of the Zetian palace. He felt as if his heart was being torn apart by thousands of swords. He didn't understand what was wrong with the people of the world. What were they pursuing? In front of him, a short tree was swaying crazily in the wind and rain under the walls of the Zetian palace. It seemed as if it would be uprooted at any time. Lin Muyu slowly sat down under the wall and let the rain fall on his body. He hugged his legs as he sat there. Suddenly, he started sobbing. He didn't know how much time had passed. The sound of the rain didn't stop, but it didn't fall on his body. Big brother Yu. Qin Yin held up the small green umbrella to shield him from the wind and rain. She slowly lowered her body and stretched out her arms to hug him. Lin Muyu raised his head as if he was startled. Xiao Yin, it's okay, it's okay. Qin Yin hugged him tightly. Tears flowed from her eyes as she said, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault that I'm so useless. It's all my fault that Xiao Yin can't control government affairs. It's all my fault that you've tasted all the injustice. Xiao Yin, it's okay." Lin Muyu knelt down and held Qin Yin in his arms. He took the umbrella from her hands and saw that Qin Yin's elegant dark blue dress was dragged in the mud. The rain was too heavy. Even with an umbrella, she was drenched. In the distance, palace maids and guards were standing guard. Qin Yin probably didn't allow them to get close. They couldn't see what was happening in the rain. Qin Yin nestled in his arms and spoke intermittently. "After you went to Lingdong, I missed you every day. I was worried that you would be in danger. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to eat well and wear warm clothes. Grandfather and Duke Lan pressured me step by step. They took away all government and military power, making me a puppet. I missed you. Ever since you left, I've been flustered. You know that Xiao Yin loves you so much." Qin Yin's soft arms wrapped around Lin Muyu's neck. Her beautiful face moved closer to him, and her red lips gently pressed against Lin Muyu's. This kiss was like a dream, at least for Lin Muyu. When Qin Yin's lips left his, a sense of loss filled his heart. Qin Yin looked at his expression and suddenly smiled. She moved closer again and kissed his lips for the second time. This time, even Qin Yin blushed and felt her body heat up. It was as if she wanted to melt into Lin Muyu's body. Hearing her rapid breathing, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. When did Xiao Yin become so proactive? Qin Yin's face turned even redder. She lightly punched his chest and said, "It's all to comfort you." Sitting in the rain with Qin Yin in his arms, Lin Muyu felt that this rain was far more wonderful than the one in Winterfrost City. There was only happiness and nostalgia in this rain, while there was only death and fear in that rain. Perhaps this was a kind of praise for his escape. Xiao Yin. The demons are really strong. Their 100,000 soldiers are enough to defeat all the armies of the empire. We must be prepared in advance. Otherwise, the other 6 provinces in North Ridge will be wiped out in a moment. I know. Qin Yin was still hugging him and smiled sweetly at him. General Feng told me to build 7 forts on the west bank of the Daojiang River, 1 every 50 kilometers. We'll amass a large number of soldiers to defend against the demons' invasion while also protecting each other. This way, it won't be so easy for the demons to encroach on the Empire's territory. Yes, Big Brother Yu understands the demons better than any of us, so I've decided to go against the majority's opinion and make Big Brother Yu a high-ranking general in the Empire's military system. What does Big Brother Yu think? Lin Muyu's gaze was firm. I won't retreat when Xiao Yin needs me. How about this? You only need to give me a military rank. As for the troops, I'll build them myself. I believe that Duke Lan and Duke Yun won't be willing to let me command their troops. Qin Yin was overjoyed. Big Brother Yu is the best. Right at this moment, a man slowly walked over with an umbrella in his hand. His battle robe fluttered along with the strong wind. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a smile, "I say, the 2 of you, everyone is watching. Your Highness, bring Ayu back to the side hall of Zhe Heavenly Palace. Duke Yun has agreed to dispatch troops from Yunzhong province to resist the devil race." Yes, that's great. Chapter 356. Zetian Hall Side Hall. A hand-drawn map was spread out on the table and there were a few people standing around the table. Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Su Muyun, Tang Lan, and Tang Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi had just rushed over from the Duke's mansion and after knowing what happened, she felt extremely distressed. Feng Jixing placed his hand on the map and said, From the northern border of Yunzhong province to the Qinling Mountains, there is a total of 1,400 li, 700 li of which are insurmountable cliffs, and the other 700 li are the tributaries of the Daojiang River. This river runs through the central part of the empire and is enough to stop the demon race's advance. Fortunately, you ordered the destruction of all the bridges, otherwise the consequences would be hard to imagine. Qin Yin said, General Feng, please continue. Feng Jixing nodded and continued. Even though according to you, the demon race is not good at swimming, but it is hard to be sure that they will not use the fishing boats on the east bank to cross the Daojiang River. So I suggest building a city on the west bank of the Daojiang River and building 7 forts. 1 fort for every 100 li and a camp for every 10 li. There must be cavalry patrolling every li to monitor the demon race's every move. Su Muyun frowned. Are there any letters from Lingdong province and Tongtian province? No. Feng Jixing shook his head. The 2 eastern provinces have completely fallen into the hands of the demon race. The imperial army there should have been completely annihilated, so there is no need to hope for any news from there. Su Muyun took a deep breath and said, IU has been recruiting soldiers in Muyu City for the past 6 months. We can mobilize about 150,000 soldiers to guard the forts. Are we still lacking? Feng Jixing replied, Yes, each fortress has at least 30,000 to 50,000 soldiers. That's close to 300,000 soldiers. The main force of the Imperial Guards has to stay in the Imperial capital. So, Duke Lan, how many soldiers can you send? Tang Lan was startled and said, Xiang Yu has 100,000 soldiers in Songnan province. They can go and guard the Daojiang River. That's good. We're still missing one. Yu's temple camp and Longdan army camp can be filled. At the side, Qin Yin said, Grandfather, Duke Lan, I plan to use Big Brother Yu again. I hope that you won't object. I believe that all of you have seen Big Brother Yu's ability to lead troops. I will promote Big Brother Yu to rank 3 Country Protector General and appoint him as the commander of the Longdan army camp. Wei Chou and Qin Yan will be the deputy commanders. Furthermore, in order to resist the invasion of the demon race, the Longdan army camp can expand its army without an upper limit. Su Muyun took a deep look at Qin Yin and said, If Xiaoyin feels that she has the ability to mobilize the Longdan army camp, then expand the army. Grandfather will not oppose it anymore. Tang Lan bowed her head and said, Your Highness, no army in the empire can expand without an upper limit. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos. I suggest that the Longdan army camp and the temple camp should have a maximum of 50,000 soldiers. All right, we will listen to Duke Lan's suggestion. Qin Yin nodded her head, turned around, and said, Come. Announced that Lin Muyu will be promoted to Country Protector General and reappointed as the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Longdan Army Camp will be included in the 3rd Army of the Empire and will be allowed to expand by 50,000 soldiers. In addition, summon the Navy Commander, Bailey Tsong. Yes. A few minutes later, a general walked into the side hall. He was about 40 years old and had a weather-beaten face. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, The Navy Commander, Bailey Tsong, pays his respects to the Empress. Qin Yin nodded and said, Okay, listen to the orders from the side. Yes. Tang Lan raised his head and glanced at Su Muyun, then at Qin Yin and Lin Muyu. Your Highness, the demon race is invading on a large scale. Who does Your Highness intend to give the important task of defending against the demon race to? Qin Yin smiled and said, Who is Duke Lan going to appoint? Xiang Yu is skilled in both the pen and the sword. He is loyal and decisive. I suggest Xiang Yu to be the commander of the Daojiang River coast. Xiang Yu. The corner of Qin Yin's mouth curled up as she said, Great General Xiang Yu is certainly brave, but the opponent this time is the demon race, not the Iha kingdom. Although Xiang Yu is fierce, he lacks flexibility. In my opinion, Commander Feng Jixing should take on the heavy responsibility of defending against the demon race. Tang Lan said, Feng Jixing is still young, and I'm afraid he can't be the commander of the 3 armies. I hope Your Highness can be prudent. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, Then don't make him a commander. I will only appoint Feng Jixing as the highest commander of the Daojiang River coast. What does Duke Lan think? I will solemnly obey your highness' order. Tang Lan's demeanor was very respectful, but it was this respectful sentence that dissolved the next step in Qin Yin's plan, to be made a commander. There was only one marshal in the empire. Once Feng Jixing was conferred the title of marshal by the empress, he would have a supreme position in the empire. As long as he wanted to, the military power of the empire would slowly shift from the hands of Tang Lan and Su Muyun. However, Qin Yin was not disappointed. At the very least, she had managed to obtain the position of commander-in-chief of the frontline army. Feng Jiren was a cautious and resourceful person. He would definitely be more appropriate than Xiang Yu when facing the devil race. That's good. Qin Yin's pair of bright eyes looked at everyone and said, "This time, no one is to be negligent in resisting the demons. Those who disobey will be executed. Feng Jixing will be the frontline commander and will command the entire army. General Beilitsong, you are the commander of the navy. This time you must listen to General Feng's orders." "Yes." Beilitsong cupped his fists and said, "The Navy's 150 warships and 30,000 soldiers will listen to General Feng's orders." "Good." Qin Yi nodded and said, "Appoint a commander for each of the 7 strongholds of the Daojiang River tributary. Immediately draft a list and pass it to me. Among them, Lin Muyu will lead the Longdan army camp to guard one of the strongholds. Is there any problem?" Tang Lan and Su Muyun cupped their fists together and said, "Yes." Lin Muyu also nodded respectfully and said, "Yes." "Then make the preparations. Immediately transport the craftsmen and materials to Cangnan province. 3 days later, the army will set out. Whether we can defeat the demons on the Daojiang River depends on everyone." "Yes, Your Highness, please rest assured." As for Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, and the others who asked about the God-binding shackles, Lin Muyu could only vaguely answer. He said that the God-binding shackles had inadvertently comprehended the God-binding shackles. Perhaps it was an accident of fate. As for the bloodline, he did not know. Not long after, the Minister of War handed the seal of the Protector of the State back to Lin Muyu. At the same time, he also put on the commander's insignia. The 3 golden stars were particularly dazzling. Qin Yin asked Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to have dinner together in the evening. The imperial family's meals were simple, so they only had a pot of stewed meat and a few side dishes for dinner. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with watery eyes and said, "Mu went to Lingdong for 2 months. This time, I don't know how long it will take to go to Cangnan province to guard the border." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "Xiaoxi, don't worry. Perhaps it will be very soon." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of nostalgia as she looked at Lin Muyu. She asked softly, "Do you think we will win?" "Yes," Lin Muyu said with a resolute gaze. "Although the demon race is very strong, as long as we avoid fighting on the plains and fight them in water or city defense, which the demon race is not good at, we can win." "Why is Brother Yu so sure?" Qin Yin asked again. Lin Muyu smiled. "Because the demon race's weapons are very clumsy. Some are even bronze weapons. Compared to the Empire's blacksmithing skills, they are like 3-year-old children. This means that although the demon race is strong, they do not have advanced craftsmanship, nor do they have skilled craftsmen. From this, we can infer that the demon race does not know how to build ships or siege weapons. This is our greatest advantage, but..." He revealed a worried expression. "But what?" Qin Yin looked at him with a gloomy expression. Lin Muyu's heart sank as she said, "But not all of the demon race are as stupid as the armor demons. There are also smart ones. Otherwise, Winter Frost City would not have been broken through so easily. What I'm most worried about is that the demon race will come all the way from Winter Ridge Province and Sky Reaching Province. They may enslave human craftsmen to build things for them. Therefore, it's better to set up the defense on the tributary of Rice River as soon as possible. We don't have much time, and our advantage is not permanent. So that's it." Qin Yin pursed her red lips and suddenly smiled. She picked up a piece of meat for Lin Muyu and said, "Brother Yu, eat more." "Yes." At this time, Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with a gloomy expression. Mu, I heard that after Winter Frost City ran out of food for more than 10 days, you have eaten all the edible things in the city? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Tree bark, grass roots, rats, snakes. I've tasted almost all of these wild things in Winter Frost City. Woo-woo. The two beauties frowned at the same time. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She thought that they should stay away from the war, but the most ruthless thing about war was that it didn't discriminate. When the war came, no one could avoid it. After dinner, Tang Xiaoxi promised to transfer 20,000 soldiers from the demon-suppressing pass to Lin Muyu. She also gave the Longdan army camp 5,000 high-quality war horses. In this way, the Holy Temple camp would have 15,000 soldiers. With the addition of the 1,000 from the Longdan army camp and the people Tang Xiaoxi gave, they would have 36,000 soldiers. Guarding a fortress should not be a problem. When night fell, Tang Xiaoxi came to the Holy Temple with a white war horse. Princess, she is here. Guyang greeted with a smile. Needless to say, you must be here to see the Grand Deacon, right? Yes, Brother Guyang, where is Mu? In the inner hall. I'll bring you there. All right. Under the flickering candlelight, Lin Muyu was discussing with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others about the details of the deployment. When she raised her head, she saw Tang Xiaoxi coming in with a warhorse. She couldn't help but smile. Xiaoxi, why are you here so late at night? Are you here to have supper with me? Girls shouldn't eat too much supper, it will make them fat. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and smiled. But I'm here to give you a precious horse. Look, what do you think of this horse? Lin Muyu looked over. This horse seemed to be in the form of a small horse. It was slightly immature, but it was very strong. Its entire body was covered with pure white fur, but there was a circle of black fur above its 4 hooves. It looked very beautiful. This horse is called Treading Snow. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, Guess, who is her father? It can't be Brother Feng, right? Lin Muyu said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi also sniggered. General Feng can't give birth to such a good breed. Her father is Jedi, the fast horse that died in battle. Actually, before Jedi died in battle, my Shueli was already pregnant and gave birth to this Treading Snow. Its name was named by Xiao Yin, so this Treading Snow is equivalent to a gift from me and Xiao Yin to you. Do you like it? I like it. Lin Muyu stretched out her hand and caressed the warhorse's head. Suddenly, there was a connection. Everything in the world was so magical. But this Treading Snow seemed to be able to sense that Lin Muyu was once her father's master and immediately became happy. Chapter 357. Amidst a forest in the south of the Qinling Mountains, there were mountain ranges that were enshrouded in mist, and it was like a fairyland. Between the lofty mountains, there were numerous roads that crossed from the north to the south, and between the perilous peaks was a fertile plain where numerous cities were situated. Among them, the most magnificent and prosperous one was extremely prosperous, and it formed a fairyland scene. It was the capital of the Iha country 100 Ridge City. In the main hall, there was a long table covered with calligraphy and paintings. Qin Yi was waving his brush. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. When a maid was about to wipe the sweat off with a handkerchief, Qin Yi suddenly said coldly, Don't touch me when I'm writing. Spare me, Commander. I know I'm wrong. I won't do it again. You can leave. Yes. The maid was so scared that her face turned pale. She retreated out of the main hall. A few minutes later, a general came in. After stepping into the hall, he cupped his hands and said respectfully, Commander, Long Qianlin is here. This General Long. Come here. Yes. Long Qianlin came to Qin Yi's side with his hand on the hilt of his sword. He said with a smile, Commander, your writing is getting stronger and stronger. Good writing, good writing. Qin Yi looked up at him and said with a smile, What's the use of good writing? Can you control the country? Qin Jin's writing is the best in the world. But he still lost half of the country easily. Commander, you're right. How's the situation in Qinling Mountains? Qin Yi asked. Long Qianlin said, Several camps we set up in the north of Qinling Mountains have been conquered by the demon tribe. We've lost about 30,000 people. Therefore, I've retreated most of the troops to Qinling Mountains to resist the demon tribe. I believe the demon tribe won't be able to cross Qinling Mountains in a short time. Don't underestimate the demon tribe. Qin Yi put the used brush into the pool and washed it gently. He said thoughtfully, Marquis Min Yulin, a famous general of this generation, used to dominate the northern desert. Today, he and his 100,000 troops were annihilated in Winterfrost City. It's said that the armor demon corps of the demon tribe can fight against 10 demons. Is that true? Qianlin, you should have seen the demon tribe, right? I only saw it from afar. Long Qianlin frowned and said, But it's true that human soldiers can't fight against the demons head-on. I saw with my own eyes that the armor demons split our volunteer soldiers into two halves together with their shields. Moreover, the armor demons are covered in hard armor that can't be penetrated by swords and sabers. It's hard to kill them unless a sharp blade pierces their eyes and mouths. Any news from Heavenspan Province? Is there any news from Count Changming? No. Long Qianlin said apologetically, It's said that the demons came from the depths of the mountain range in Sky-Piercing Province. They killed anyone they met along the way. Count Changming, who was stationed in Sky-Piercing City, is most likely dead. Sigh? Qin Yi sighed with a pale face and said, I originally thought that I could unify the world by relying on the power of an immortal venerable, but I didn't expect that Tang Lan and Su Muyun, these two old fellows, would hide their strength and bide their time. They used Lanyan City to exhaust our morale before dealing us a heavy blow. I didn't expect that the two provinces that we painstakingly seized from the Empire would fall into the hands of the demon race that came from nowhere. Long Qianlin said calmly, Chief, the demon tribe is coming with great momentum. They seem to want to exterminate the human race. I think our biggest enemy is not the Empire, but the demon tribe. Do you also think we should ally with the Empire? Qin Yi looked at Long Qianlin with pride. Long Qianlin hurriedly bowed his head and cupped his hands, saying, I dare not. How's the progress of the steel wall? It's 40% completed. It's not enough to resist the demon tribe for now. But in 3 months, I believe the steel wall will be enough to make us invincible. But what? However, Commander, there are 97 cities of different sizes in Iha country to the north of the steel protective wall. If we really withdraw our troops to the south of the steel protective wall, I'm afraid that these cities will be handed over to demons. Commander, they are all the people of Iha country. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Qin Yi looked deeply at Long Qianlin and said, General Long, don't forget that you're one of the Empire's commanders. You're the only one I can rely on now. You'll be fully responsible for the defense of Iha country against the demon tribe. Don't let me down. We can still take back the cities we lost in the Qinling Mountains. But once the steel wall is broken, I'm afraid Lingnan will soon become the demon tribe's territory. Yes, I will do my best. Good, go. Yes. Long Qianlin turned and left. As for Qin Yi, he looked at his back with a strange look in his eyes. Suddenly, he sighed with emotion and said, Imperial brother, I really regret it. If you were alive, I wouldn't have to resist the devil race alone. Qin Yin, that little girl, is probably panicking and doesn't know how to deal with the invasion of the demon tribe. Lanyan City, Zetian Palace. Officials stood in great numbers. Qin Yin, dressed in a princess robe, stood in front of the throne. Her beautiful eyes looked at everyone with dignity. She handed over the golden edict in her hand and said, Come, read the edict. Yes. Su Muyun walked forward, trembling, and took the edict from his granddaughter. After unfolding it, he said in a clear voice, The invasion of the demon tribe is imminent, and the fate of the empire is at stake for thousands of years. Qin Yin, in the name of the Empress, has mobilized the 3 armies. She has set up 7 armies at the tributary of the Daojiang River to the east of the 5 Valley City to resist the invasion. The first army has 50,000 people, and will be led by the Commander-in-Chief Feng Jixing. The Second Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Yu. The Third Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Xiang Yu. The Fourth Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Lin Muyu. The Fifth Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Tao. The Sixth Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the Tranquil Sea Yao Yuan. The Seventh Army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the North Ridge, Tang Lu, and Marquis of the West Ridge, Tang Tian. The Minister of War, Xueling, will be responsible for the supply of food and weapons. The Great Deacon of the Spiritual Medicine Department, Chu Yao, will be responsible for the supply of medicine. The Empress, Qin Yin, will be moving to the Five Valleys city to supervise the battle. Everyone knelt on the ground. Wei Chou was right beside Lin Muyu. He smiled faintly and said, "I can finally kill the enemy together with the commander again." Qin Yen smiled. "Lord Wei Chou, you still can't change your words. Big Brother isn't a commander right now. He's a commander, the commander of over 10,000 troops in the Longdan army camp." "Got it. I'll slowly change." Lin Muyu turned around to look at the two of them and said, "You guys lower your voices." Silence. "Yes, Lord Commander. Have the troops from the Kingdom Guarding Army arrived yet?" "They arrived this morning. Lord Wei Chou and I have already gathered the troops. A full 20,000, not one more and not one less." "Big Sister Xiao, she didn't give them to the wrong people," Qin Yen said with a smile. Lin Muyu nodded in satisfaction and asked again, "Wei Chou, His Highness chose another 13,000 people from Muyu City's new recruits to make up an army of 50,000 for us. Are these troops counted?" "They're all here." Wei Chou smiled and said, "Don't worry, Commander. Even though these people are all new recruits, they've already trained for 3 months. As long as they aren't scared out of their wits, they should still be able to kill the enemy." "That's good." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Our Fourth Army's defensive position just happens to be adjacent to Big Brother Feng's First Army. Once the fiends attack, it will be one of the biggest casualties, so we must be careful." "Yes." After the imperial edict was read out, everyone went to make their own preparations. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Qin Yen, and Fengxi, the 3 generals, and slowly left Zhe Tian Palace Hall while chatting about the matter of military supplies. "How many arrows do we have?" 200,000. Qin Yen said, "The Department of War has allocated 200,000 arrows to each army. That's all we have." "Far from enough." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Does our Longdan army camp still have arrows in storage?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "There are still over 100,000 arrows on Dragon Rocky Mountain. In addition, there are about 80,000 white diamond arrows." "Madam, can the white diamond arrows penetrate the carapace of the fiends?" "Yes, but 80,000 is far from enough." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "You guys go and attack everything the Fourth Army needs first. I'll think of a way." "Yes." The army camp was outside Lanyan City. The 3 generals spurred their horses and left. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu gently stroked Takshu's snow-white mane and lightly spurred her straight in the direction of the Purple Flower Merchant Guild. On Skyspan Street, the various merchant guilds gradually regained their former prosperity. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Smoke lingered above the ironware shops, and the clanking sounds rang out incessantly. When war came, the ironware shop's business couldn't be better. Some imperial officers wanted more convenient weapons, and some rangers and mercenaries also wanted to have their own weapons. All of these things had to be done in the ironware shops. Lin Muyu urged her horse forward slowly. She looked around and discovered that the signboards of the ironware shops outside the Purple Flower Merchant Guild had been changed to Purple Flower Weapon Shop. It seemed like Jean Xiaodang was indeed a talent. She had started off with just 3 million Jinin dollars and had already continuously swallowed up the surrounding industries. Once the Merchant Guild formed a complete industrial chain, it would be equivalent to a commercial empire. Right now, Lin Muyu needed a commercial empire to support her 50,000 troops of the Fourth Army. She couldn't completely rely on the imperial military for weapons, war horses, rations, and so on. After all, Xueling was Tang Lan's subordinate. It would be fine if he supplied rations and weapons on time, but if he didn't, she would have to rely on herself. An employee of the Temple of Light recognized Lin Muyu long ago and hurriedly went forward and said respectfully, "Great Deacon, you're here." "Yes." Lin Muyu handed the warhorse to a servant and said, "Take me to see Xiaotang." "Yes." The two of them passed through the rows of herb shops, spirit stone shops, and weapon shops. When they reached the back hall, they heard Jin Xiaotang's voice from afar. "Shopkeeper Luo, not only is your shield not sturdy, it's also not durable enough. Our staff used your shield to do experiments and almost got shot to death. If you really want to join the Purple Flower Merchant Guild, it's not a problem, but we will take 30% of your profits. If you agree, then sign here. If not, then go to another merchant guild. However, since we are friends, I have to tell you that the Dragon-Seeking Merchant Guild will take at least 50% of your profits. Also, your daughter is so beautiful. Maybe..." Shopkeeper Luo's body trembled. "Deal, Miss Xiaotang." That's right. The arm can't twist the thigh, but you have to be stubborn with me." "What a waste of time. This lady's time is very precious. I have to settle accounts, build relationships, and even go on dates." Shopkeeper Luo was speechless. Chapter 358. Xiaotang. Lin Muyu stepped in. "Brother Yu." Jin Xiaotang was overjoyed. She threw herself into Lin Muyu's arms and acted like a spoiled little sister. "You said that you would eat beef noodles with me this time. Humph, you haven't fulfilled your promise yet. Now you're going to war again." "I'm busy." Lin Muyu chuckled. "How's the business of the Chamber of Commerce?" "Everything is good." "Oh, there must be something you want me to do for you." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "This time I have 50,000 subordinates and there is a serious shortage of arrows. So you need to help me forge a large number of arrows. Is there a problem?" "No problem." Jin Xiaotang blinked her eyes and smiled proudly. "Our Purple Flower Chamber of Commerce has a total of 10 ironware shops. If we stop working for 3 days and focus on forging arrows, we should be able to give you around 200,000 arrows." "That's great." Lin Muyu smiled happily. "Also, we need other weapons. In short, we need to use all the funds of the Chamber of Commerce to supply ironware shops. Also, has the rice shop been opened?" "It has been opened for a long time." "Brother Yu, do you need Xiaotang to prepare provisions for you?" "Yes, it's good if we can. I'm worried that..." Jin Xiaotang was smart. She smiled and said, "I know. Brother has always been unpopular in the court. You have to rely on yourself for many things. But don't worry, you still have me. Apart from hiring manpower, it's nothing. Lanyan City has a lot of people. Don't worry, I'll handle everything." "Yes." At night, Lin Muyu invited the two beauties Jin Xiaotang and Chu Yao to a meal. This could be considered a gathering before the expedition. Although Chu Yao, as the chief deacon of the spiritual medicine department, was responsible for the medicines needed for the war, it was not easy to see her. Moreover, if the demons truly crossed the river to fight, Lin Muyu would also be very busy. The next day, the army set out. Early in the morning, mist lingered in the forest. Lin Muyu rode treading snow as she slowly followed the fourth corps. At the same time, she appointed 5 captaincy: Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Feng Shi, Tang Ren, and Zhang Feng. Tang Ren was Tang Zhen's cousin and Zhang Feng was a new captaincy from Sunset Rain City. Qin Yan hung the fire serpent spear on the back of the horse, unfurled a map and looked at it, saying, "According to our marching speed, it will take at least half a month to reach Maple Forest Ferry. Big brother, isn't it too late?" Lin Muyu nodded. "It's true that we're a bit late, but our fourth corps has 50,000 people, and nearly 40,000 of them are heavy cavalry. It doesn't matter. If there's a battle at Maple Forest Crossing, we'll be able to rush over at any time. Don't worry, the Imperial Navy has already arrived at Daojiang River. With them here, the demons won't be able to cross." "Yes." Lin Muyu looked around her. Everyone within a radius of a few miles was the 4th Army Corps, and she was the supreme commander of this army. She couldn't help but feel proud. She didn't have much military power in the Battle of Winterfrost City, but this time, she was in charge. It was time to deal with the Nephilim army and show them the power of the human army. 9 days later, the army passed by Five Valleys City. On both sides of the official road, there were actually countless commoners of the Five Valleys City sending them off. Qin Yen, Wei Chou, and the others couldn't help but smile. Who said that the Imperial Army was unpopular? At this time, the Imperial Army was heading to the front lines, but they were actually receiving such love and respect from the commoners. For a moment, the commoners on the roadside were delivering water, sweet potatoes, dry rations, eggs, and so on to the soldiers. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb as she watched. She suddenly felt like she was watching the Red Army go into war. Actually, the people were the most practical. If you fought for the people would naturally support you. If you fought for your own status, what did it have to do with the people? In addition to the people, there was also a group of soldiers from Five Valleys City. They escorted rations and weapons and waited here to supply the army passing by. In the distance, a man rode over and said, "Where is Commander Lin of the 4th Corps?" Lin Muyu quickly rode out and said, "I'm here. Who are you?" He was wearing the rank of captaincy. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "I'm Zhang Bao, the general of the garrison of Five Valleys City, waiting here for the 4th Corps. We have been waiting here since last night. Here, Commander, please take a look. These are the supplies prepared by Five Valleys City for the 4th Corps. There are 2,000 steel swords, 10,000 spears, 5,000 shields, 40,000 arrows, and 2,000 carriages of rations. I hope you don't think it's too little. Five Valleys City can only provide so much." "Well, thank you very much. You've worked hard." Lin Muyu gave him a very standard imperial military salute. He looked handsome, plus he was wearing a commander's armor, carrying a sword, and riding a treading in snow warhorse. For a time, a group of girls from Five Valleys City ran over, and their faces were full of infatuation. "Wow, that commander is so handsome. Who is he?" "He seems to be one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan conferred by the former emperor." "Yes, this is the 4th Corps. He is Lin Muyu, who is ranked 2nd in the 4 heroes of Lanyan. He is even more handsome than Commander Feng Jixing." Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Would Feng Jixing go berserk after hearing this? As a result, the girls' crowding and praising also caused a lot of complaints, especially from the garrison of Five Valleys City. They could have gone to the front line to fight against the demons, but the Empress didn't call for them. Therefore, they could only be responsible for the transportation of rations. Why can only the Imperial Army go to the front line? Do the people of Five Valleys City deserve to work with grains and straws all day long? Yes. Why can only they go to fight against the demons, and why can't we? Yes, they don't have an extra eye or an extra leg than me. Why can't I, Zhao Ritian, be the first to disagree? Wei Chou immediately rushed forward with his sword, raised his eyes, and scolded, "What are you arguing about? Do you think fighting against the demons is child's play? If you really go to the front line, maybe you would have been scared to death." In the crowd, the centurion named Zhao Ritian saw Wei Chou coming over and took a few steps back. Wei Chou pointed his sword at him and said, "Zhao Ritian, you better be careful and restrain your subordinates. If they continue to make noise here, don't blame me, Wei Chou, for being merciless." Zhao Ritian hurriedly cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Sir, please calm down. I know I am wrong." He quickly turned around and shouted at his subordinates, "All of you, shut up. Don't say another word. Just treat it as giving me, Zhao Ritian, some face." Everyone kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to say another word. Lin Muyu did not stop and continued to walk slowly with the army while carrying the pear blossom spear. At the same time, he sent a team of cavalry to take away all the supplies sent from Five Valleys City. These were all good things in war. After experiencing the nightmarish, cruel war in Winterfrost City, Lin Muyu had learned how important supplies were. The army is based on food. This sentence from Zhuge Liang's 24 chapters on the art of war was the truth for the army. At this moment, someone suddenly shouted from the crowd of Five Valleys City, "Sir Lin Ji! Sir Lin Ji!" Lin Muyu was stunned. This voice was very familiar, and there were not many people who knew his real name. Who was it? He hurriedly turned around and saw a man wearing the rank of a centurion squeezing through the crowd toward him. It was Qin Xiling, who he had not seen for a long time, the former Bronze Star sparring master of the Sanctum. Why was he here? Overjoyed, Lin Muyu hurriedly dismounted and walked forward. He suddenly hugged Qin Xiling and laughed loudly. "Xiling, after you disappeared from the Sanctum, I thought you had died in battle. I didn't expect to see you here." Qin Xiling was also ecstatic. After the Battle of Lanyan City and the Sanctum was breached, I and a few other Sanctum sparring masters were chased by the Iha nation's army. We were stranded among the refugees and finally came to Five Valleys City. I felt that I was too ashamed to return to the Sanctum, so I joined the army here. "Sir Lin Ji, you are now an army commander?" Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. "Yes." "Are you going to the Daojiang branch?" Qin Xiling asked. "Yes." Qin Xiling's eyes flashed with a trace of longing. He said, "You must be careful. I heard that the demons are all extremely cruel and powerful. Marquis Min Yulin's army of 100,000 died in Winter Frost City. To be honest, we are all very afraid that we can't hold the Daojiang River. If that happens, Five Valleys City will become a dead city again." Lin Muyu's eyes were shining. She smiled and said, "Not just Five Valleys City. If the demons really win, the entire human race will be extinct. By the way, Xiling, don't you want to go with me?" "Of course I want to, but now I am a soldier of the Five Valleys City." "It's okay. Who are you working for?" "Captaincy, Zhang Bao." "Oh, it's him. It's okay. I will write a letter to him. You can go directly with my 4th Legion." "Okay." Qin Xiling was very excited. Lin Muyu immediately wrote a short letter and asked someone to send it to Zhang Bao. The general meaning was very clear. She wanted him by force. In fact, Qin Xiling's cultivation was very low. He was not much stronger than an ordinary soldier. Zhang Bao would definitely give him the letter. After entering the 4th Legion, Lin Muyu still let Qin Xiling be the centurion. After getting to know Qin Yan, Wei Chou, Feng Shi, and the others, they got along very well. 5 days later, they arrived at the place of defense, Maple Ferry. Originally, it was just a simple ferry, but now it had been built into a camp. Before the 4th Legion arrived, they had already started to build the city. The city was less than 100 meters away from the Rice River. The height of the city wall was about 20 meters. Now, it had been built about 10 meters, but it was still far from enough. At this time, the ferry had become the anchorage of the Imperial Navy. A total of 20 warships were neatly lined up on the shore. When Lin Muyu arrived at the ferry with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the other captaincy, the navy on the warships also quickly disembarked. A bearded general wearing the rank of captaincy respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General Situlai has been waiting for Commander Lin here for a long time under the order of Commander Bailey Tsong." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and went forward to help Situlai up. She said, "General is too polite. Has there been any movement from the other side these days?" "Yes," Situlai said in a deep voice. "The Demon Race Army has set up camp on the other side. According to my observation, they have at least 10,000 people on the other side. Most of them are the legendary cockroaches." "Armored demons?" "Yes." "Got it." Lin Muyu looked at Wei Chou at the side and said, "Send people to set up camp on the shore. 1 camp every 10 li, 5 camps on the north and south. Send out light cavalry to scout and observe the movements of the demon race at any time." "Yes, Commander." Chapter 359. The 4th Legion had been stationed at Maple Forest Ferry for close to half a month without any battle. Even though the camp of the fiend race could be faintly seen on the other side, those fiends kept lying in wait, making people very anxious. In the early morning, Mist shrouded the entire city. This new city was already beginning to take shape. In order to build this new city, a mountain at the back was practically leveled. Close to 100,000 commoners toiled day and night to build this city. It was truly not easy. Fengxi held his saber as he paced back and forth on the city walls, saying somewhat impatiently, "What the hell are these fiends doing? Are they still not attacking? Darren, in my opinion, we have warships and heavy cavalry. Why don't we directly charge over and kill to our heart's content with the fiends?" "No." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said with a smile, "Fengxi, don't look down on the fiends. Their combat strength is far more terrifying than you imagine. If we underestimate the enemy, we will definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Do you know why Her Highness ordered the construction of this new city in a short time? It's because she also knows the power of the fiends, so she has already made plans to rely on the city to defend. The fiends are not good at fighting on the water and are not good at attacking cities. Always remember this." "Yes, this subordinate understands." At the side, Wei Chou narrowed his eyes and said, "We can receive feather letters from the other 6 great legions every day. It's quiet along the Rice River. The fiends have been lying in ambush for so long. Just what are they doing? Furthermore, the most hateful thing is that the scouts we sent out were practically all killed. We can be said to be completely ignorant of the situation on the other side." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, "How about this? I'll go to the eastern shore to investigate the situation tonight. You guys guard the city well." "No way," Qin Yan hurriedly said. "The eastern shore is too dangerous. Big brother, you absolutely can't go alone." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu raised her brows and said, "I'll sneak over and sneak back. I won't alarm the main force of the fiends. You guys be careful too, just in case the fiends attack at night." "Yes." That night, Lin Muyu changed into a set of black night clothes, carried the dragon spirit's sword on his back, and then walked out of the city. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others sent him to the riverside and watched him swim away. On a summer night, the river water was extremely cool. Lin Muyu swam slowly while releasing her spiritual pulse technique to observe her surroundings. There were only fish in the river water. There were no terrifying creatures like the frost-armored horned dragon. It must be because the river water here was not deep or wide enough to satisfy the frost-armored horned dragon's needs. When he swam to the east bank, a strong and violent breath had appeared in the spiritual pulse technique. Yes, it was the breath of the armor demons. The armor demons were the main fighting force of the demon clan and could be seen everywhere. Additionally, she could sense the chi of an armor demon every 50 m in front of her. However, Lin Muyu couldn't find any armor demon even though she squinted her eyes. Therefore, there was only one possibility: these armor demons had disguised themselves. Splat, splat, splat. The river water slowly dripped from her clothes onto the ground. Lin Muyu quietly entered the reeds by the riverside, and then stepped into the jungle. Not far ahead was the breath of an armor demon. Lin Muyu hid in the grass and observed for a long time. Finally, he found that the grass on the opposite side suddenly shook. It was an armor demon scratching itself. Lin Muyu immediately smiled. It turned out that the armor demons were really lying in ambush here, waiting for the scouts of the human army. No wonder none of the scouts sent by the Empire survived. Lin Muyu slowly drew out her sword. When the dragon spirit sword left the sheath, it made a slight sound of friction. Lin Muyu dashed over in a big stride. Before the armor demon hiding in the grass could react, she swung her sword down. The cold sword light flashed in the jungle, and the armor demon was split into 2 halves from head to shoulder. A stream of turbid red blood splashed out. Holding the bloody long sword, Lin Muyu walked in the jungle like a phantom under the cover of the jungle. As the sword light flashed by, another armor demon was killed. Relying on the detection of the spiritual pulse method, the armor demons here had nowhere to hide, which made it more convenient for Lin Muyu to move under the cover of the night. After touching the 3 consecutive defense lines of the demons, Zhang Tai saw the demons' camp just hundreds of meters away. Inside the camp, there were piles of bonfires. Their way of living was very simple. They didn't even need barracks. Armor demons were very strong. They probably wouldn't get sick even if they slept in the open air. Moving forward, Zhang Tai could see the flickering bonfires. She could hear the sounds of axes cutting down trees and saws rubbing wood. Hiding in the bushes, Lin Muyu saw a group of humans working under the bonfires. As they cut down trees, trees fell down rapidly one after another. On one side, pieces of sawn wood were being nailed together with horizontal boards. It looked like a huge wooden board. In the farther place, the same huge wooden boards had been piled up into a high pile. There were at least 100 of them. After being nailed together, each wooden board could carry about 10 armor demons, which meant that over 1,000 armor demons could be transported across the river. At the sight of this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but draw in a cold breath. Demons' way of attack was so simple. They didn't need to build a battlefield at all. They just used such primitive wooden boards to cross the river. How terrifying! It was conceivable that there were many such wood construction sites here. More than half of the forest on the east bank of Daojiang River had been cut down. By then, tens of thousands of wooden boards would be thrown into the tributaries of Daojiang River. Who could stop 100,000 armor demons crossing the river? With her heart beating rapidly, Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Behind each group of human craftsmen were some armor demons. These armor demons were supervising the work. In order to survive, these humans had to continue working. No wonder that senior demon said that as long as Yangwei Core was willing to be his slave, he would spare its life. Now that she thought about it, if Min Yulin surrendered at the same time, she might also become one of these craftsmen. Demons were enslaving humans and using human intelligence to deal with humans. After leaving quietly, Lin Muyu didn't do anything anymore. It was useless to kill more armor demons. Additionally, he would be discovered easily. Additionally, for the sake of safety, he threw all the corpses of those armor demons into Daojiang River. After that, he crossed the river. The torches on the other bank were flickering. After 4 hours, Qin Yen and Wei Chou were still guarding the bank. "Elder brother is over there." Qin Yen hurriedly urged his horse to rush over. Lin Muyu slowly climbed onto the bank and suddenly exerted his strength. Do Qi whizzed past, shaking off most of the water on his clothes. He wiped the river water on his face and said, "They are building a boat." "Building a boat? Impossible." Wei Chou was stunned. "We didn't see any demon boat." "Don't tell me they don't need to go into the water?" "Yes, their boats don't need to be tested. They are all nailed together with huge wooden planks. Moreover, there are a lot of them. The demons have enslaved the humans on the east bank of Daojiang River to cut down trees for them to make these planks. It won't be long before they launch a fierce attack." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Immediately send a letter to the other 6 armies to explain the situation." "Yes." Wei Chou's expression was cold as he said, "Darren, how should we prepare?" Lin Muyu said, "The demons are afraid of water. I don't know if they are afraid of fire. I think they should be afraid of it as well. The armor demons have transparent wings on their backs. Using fire to burn them should be effective." Darren wants to. "What is the easiest thing to ignite?" "Black beech oil. This is the easiest thing to use to attack with fire." "Then prepare more." "That's right. Can the black beech oil float on the water and burn?" "Yes." "That's good." Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes and said, "Prepare more black beech oil and move it all to our 20 boats. Also, cover the sides of our boats with metal sheets." Wei Chou smiled. Darren's brilliant plan. That night, Lin Muyu did not sleep at all. He was worried that the implementation of this plan would not go as smoothly as he imagined. He was even more worried that the demons would have other thoughts. Just at this time, Wei Chou's voice suddenly came from outside. "Commander, they came before dawn." "Who came?" "The winged ones." Wei Chou said indifferently, "As you expected, the demons used the same trick again. They wanted to use the winged ones' flying advantage to burn down our rations. Fortunately, our rations were all stored in the cellar and did not suffer any damage. However, several dozen soldiers were shot to death by the Winged Ones. These Winged Ones' archery is really not simple. Lin Muyu opened the curtain and walked out, asking, Wei Chou, your archery is the best in the entire army. Can you kill these Winged Ones? I can't. Wei Chou shook his head and replied awkwardly, With this subordinate's arm strength, I won't be able to shoot past 150 meters, and most of the Winged Ones can fly above 200 meters, so this subordinate can't do anything about it. That's right, although I can't, there's someone who can. Who? Qin Xiling. Oh, Xiling? This subordinate will take Darren to have a look. Amen. In the camp, Qin Xiling was fiddling with a bronze-colored machine. It was obvious at a glance that it was a crossbow, but it was the type that could shoot 10 bursts in a row. Xiling. Lin Muyu greeted with a smile. Qin Xiling hurriedly turned around and smiled respectfully. His face was a bit awkward as he said, I used to fiddle with some machines, but father always said I was useless. Now, I've modified a hunting carriage used by hunters to hunt giant eagles into a crossbow carriage. It's powerful, and if it's calibrated a bit better, it might be able to kill those Winged Ones. Lin Muyu nodded. Then do your research well. If you need anything, tell Wei Chou directly. He will do his best to satisfy you. Yes. Qin Xiling said happily, Commander, when I fiddled with these things before, everyone looked down on me and thought I was not doing proper work. Only you encouraged me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. If the crossbow you invented could kill more demons, you would be the Empire's hero. Heroes don't necessarily have to charge into battle. Amen. Lin Muyu felt very ashamed. Although she came from another world and understood many methods of making weapons, she really didn't have much research on cold weapons. Otherwise, she would have been able to make some divine weapons like the Zhuge crossbow. If the demons really dared to come, she would kill them all. Thinking about it, she began to laugh. Commander, what are you laughing at? Wei Chou asked. No, nothing. Lin Muyu wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth. What are we eating for lunch today? Is there meat? There is. Chapter 360. A small boat swayed from the river. A young and handsome man sat on the heavily decayed deck, and behind him was an old man paddling the boat. The small boat slowly moved, heading straight for the Empire's encampment on the west bank. This was the mountain forest town's ferry, the place with the most rapid flow of the Daojiang tributary in the entire Cangnan province, and Feng Jixing's 50,000 elite soldiers of the 1st Legion were stationed on the opposite side. Who are you? Stop or else we'll shoot. A group of archers and shield soldiers rushed out from the forest. Each of them had the Empire's purple flower emblem on their shoulders. The old man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Don't shoot. I'm a human. I'm a human. Don't shoot. I'm a citizen of the Empire. In the crowd, a centurion unsheathed his sword and stepped forward, saying, You've come from River East. Who are you? At this time, the handsome young man sitting at the bow slowly stood up and took off his bamboo hat, revealing a handsome face. The face was very perfect, as if it was created by the heaven and earth. However, under his thick eyebrows was a pair of light purple eyes that looked a bit flirtatious. He smiled and cupped his fist. 1st Legion's Marshal Qianfeng wants to see Her Highness Qin Yin. I wonder if I have the chance to meet Her Highness? The centurion was stunned. Divine Marshal? You are a demon? You can say that. In your human's mouth, I am indeed a demon. Qianfeng's purple eyes looked at the centurion and said, This time, I am under the order of His Highness, the 3rd Prince of the Celestial race. Please inform Her Highness. Humph. The centurion raised his eyebrows. Let's go ashore. Men, tie him up for me. Yes. A group of people rushed forward and quickly tied up Qianfeng. As for the old man who was paddling the boat, he was just an ordinary human, so they didn't make things difficult for him. After many days of construction, the 1st Legion's encampment had taken shape. The city walls were made of white rocks, and the sounds of training could be heard from within the city. Qianfeng was pushed into the city by the crowd, but there was no fear in his eyes. Instead, he smiled slightly, as if he was mocking the human army's combat power. In the central tent, Qin Yin sat on the commander's seat while Feng Jixing, Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the others stood on both sides, reporting the battle situation respectfully. Right at this moment, a messenger entered the tent, cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Your Highness General Feng. There is a person outside who claims to be the commander of the First Demon Army, called Qian Feng, asking for an audience." Qian Feng? Qin Yin frowned. "Who is he?" Feng Jixing said, "Your Highness, the demon race is divided into two armies, the First Army and the Second Army. The Lei Chong that you mentioned before should be the commander of the Second Army. As for the person outside, I don't know if he is real or not. Should we summon him? Amen." Qin Yin nodded. Feng Jixing shot a glance at Zhang Wei, who immediately waved his hand, saying, "Archers, axemen, prepare yourselves. Archers, switch to white diamond arrows and listen to my command." "Yes, sir." At least 100 archers and axemen immediately hid on both sides of the tent. A few minutes later, a group of imperial soldiers pushed Qian Feng into the central tent. He was dressed in green, but there was an unconcealable arrogance between his brows. After entering the tent, he suddenly moved his hands behind his back like butterflies. Wisps of black energy enshrouded him, and the ropes came off in the blink of an eye. "Protect His Highness." Feng Jixing immediately stood up, his windcutter already halfway out of its sheath. Qian Feng smiled, saying, "General Feng Jixing, there is no need to be nervous. Qian Feng will not harm His Highness." With that, he looked at Qin Yin, who was sitting on the marshal's seat, only to see this imperial princess dressed in a dark blue military uniform, elegant and dignified. Her carved face had a trace of anger as she looked at him. Her entire person seemed to be made of jade, graceful and graceful. In an instant, Qian Feng couldn't help but bow deeply, saying, "God Race Marshal Qian Feng greets Your Highness Qin Yin." Qin Yin said indifferently, "Qian Feng, what are you doing in the imperial camp?" "Seeking peace." Qian Feng smiled. Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. "Seeking peace? The demon race has trampled on my empire's territory, and you actually come here to ask for peace?" "Yes, it's seeking peace." Qian Feng's expression was calm as he looked respectfully at Qin Yin, saying, "Your Highness, this time, the third prince personally led the God Race's army to recapture the Central Plains. Along the way, they have captured dozens of cities in Tongtian Province, Lingdong Province, and Songnan Province. They are unstoppable. However, His Highness said that as long as the Empire hands over one person, His Highness will use Rice River as the boundary and coexist peacefully with the Empire." Rice River as the boundary. Qin Yin frowned. She didn't show any anger. "What do you demons think our empire is? Do you think we can stop fighting just because you say so?" Feng Jixing sneered and said, "Qian Feng, tell me first, who do you want from the empire?" "Lin Mu Yu." Qian Feng said word by word. Zhang Wei and Luo Yu were startled at the same time. "Commander Yu?" Qin Yin was also surprised. This had touched the deepest part of her heart. Her eyes flashed with killing intent as she asked, "Qian Feng, what do you want Lin Mu Yu to do?" Qian Feng bowed with a smile and said politely, "Your Highness, Qian Feng has an older brother called Kai Yun. A few years ago, he was a pioneer who came to the human world in search of the 9 holy weapons. However, he was killed by the humans in the end." "Hey!" Qian Feng laughed and said, "Your Highness, before I left, Qian Feng had ordered my subordinates. If I don't return within 2 hours, they will immediately cross the river and attack. I have 200,000 soldiers. Just the boulders alone is enough to fill up the river. At that time, with Your Highness's army, can you stop the divine race's army?" Qin Yin was startled. Feng Jixing frowned at the side and said, "Your Highness, when 2 armies cross swords, envoys are not to be killed. Moreover, Qian Feng is the demon race's marshal. Let's just let him go and have a fair battle." Feng Jixing also wants to meet this demon race marshal. Qian Feng laughed. As expected of the flaming wolf Feng Jixing, this kind of courage is not something an ordinary human can have. Admirable. Qin Yi nodded and said, Men, send Marshal Qian Feng back to River East. Yes. Zhang Wei stepped out of the ranks and personally led Qian Feng out of the central tent. As soon as Qian Feng left, Qin Yi frowned and said, General Feng, you should be able to see that this Qian Feng is both brave and intelligent. The commander of the battle at Winter Frost City must be him. If we don't kill him today, it is the same as letting the tiger return to the mountain. Feng Jixing nodded his head and said, I know, Your Highness, although Qian Feng said that using stones to fill up Rice River was an alarmist, but our preparations are not sufficient. The Black Beach oil from Five Valley City and Divine Shadow City will only arrive in another 6 hours or so. We need this period of time, so, Your Highness, please be patient. I understand. When does General Feng think the demons will attack? Only today. It won't be long. They are also preparing for this war. Brother Yu then, Haha. Don't worry. Feng Jixing grinned and said, Yu is smarter than anyone. Moreover, the elite troops of Longdan Army Camp and Holy Temple Camp are all in his hands. If the demons cross the river and attack by force, his fourth corps is the most stable. Your Highness, you should worry more about your Aunt Lien, Tang Lu, and Tang Tian's positions. Oh? Qin Yi blushed and sat there in a daze. She didn't know what to do. If she could, she really wanted to fly to the Fourth Corps' position 100 miles away. Unfortunately, she was the Empress and had to stay in the First Corps to oversee the whole army. Moreover, Feng Jixing also needed her to intimidate the 30,000 troops of Muyu City. After all, they were not under Feng Jixing's direct command. Chapter 361. In the Demon Camp, Qian Feng put on a pure black armor and stepped into the tent with his cloak fluttering in the wind. He looked around with a gloomy look. There were over 20 people in the tent, all of whom were high-level demons. Pairs of purple eyes were looking at him. Only one of them was an armor demon, a high-rank armor demon. He was the legendary marshal of the Second Corps, Lei Chong. Lei Chong smiled at Qian Feng. The pair of curved fangs on his face looked particularly ferocious. He said in a very clumsy voice, Marshal Qian Feng, is it a victory? Qian Feng smiled. It went well. Thank you for your concern, Marshal Lei Chong. After saying this, he bowed to the young man on the seat and said, Your Highness, Qin Yi refused our request. Human beings refused to hand over Lin Muyu. Then prepare for war. The third prince's handsome face was filled with cruelty. He toyed with the jade cup in his hand and said, I can't wait to control the entire Middle Earth. This is the home of our god race. We can finally go home again. Your Highness. Qian Feng wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. The third prince raised his head and asked, What's wrong, Marshal Qian Feng? What's the matter? Qian Feng said, Can we change the plan? I'm afraid that our plan of water war won't go well. Why? Lei Chong hurriedly asked. Qian Feng smiled. When I was walking in the human camp, I smelled a familiar smell, but I'm not sure. What smell? The third prince asked. Qian Feng frowned. The smell of oil. A strong and strange smell. I heard that human beings have a kind of oil that will burn when it meets fire. It's called Black Beach oil. Therefore, I'm afraid that the Empire will attack with fire. If they do that, we won't be able to carry out our cube ship plan. Instead, we will suffer undeserved losses. No. The third prince said resolutely, We can't change the plan of attack. We've been preparing for this meticulous plan for half a month. We can't wait any longer. Father doesn't want us to wait any longer. We have to carry out the original plan. Marshal Qian Feng, don't worry. You've seen the battle strength of the armored demons. Even if the human beings attack with fire, we can still kill them. Your Highness, please reconsider. Qian Feng frowned. Say no more. The third prince stood up, flicked his sleeves, and said, Proceed according to the original plan. For hours later, We will start the war. The first warrior to reach the western shore would be rewarded with 100,000 Shindu coins and be conferred the title of general. Whoever captures Qin Yin will be conferred the title of marshal. Yes, the demon generals cupped their fists in greeting, their faces full of smiles. Only Chen Feng frowned and stood there without saying a word. At dusk, the setting sun shone like blood on the Daojiang River, illuminating 1,000 miles of sparkling water. At Maple Forest Ferry, battleships slowly entered the port. The Navy Captaincy Situ Lai ordered to seal off the port. After much consideration, Lin Muyu decided not to use the battleships to directly participate in the defense. After all, the number of battleships of the Empire Navy was limited. If they burned one, it would be one less. Lin Muyu stood by the river in his Sanctum Grand Deacon battle robe. He looked at the eastern shore from afar. The night wind blew his cape, making it flutter. At the side, Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and Feng Shi were quietly guarding. "Is the black beach oil ready?" Lin Muyu asked. "It's ready." Qin Yan cupped his fists and smiled. "A total of 8,000 barrels of black beach oil. It's enough to burn dozens of miles of land on the river. Big brother, don't worry. The demon race won't be able to attack." Lin Muyu said calmly, "Pass down the order. After the demon race attacks, don't be anxious. Wait until their ships reach the middle of the river before pouring the 8,000 barrels of black beach oil down. Wait until their ships are 30 meters away from the shore before setting it on fire, catching them off guard. Also, wait for the battle by the shore. Shield formation in the first row, archery formation behind. Everyone change to white drill arrows and aim at the heads of the demon race. We must kill one with one arrow. We must not let them go ashore." Yes. The three of them raised their heads. Not long later, the night slowly fell and torches finally appeared on the opposite shore. Just like what Feng Jixing said in the letter, the demon race was preparing to attack. "They are going into the water." Wei Chou squinted his eyes and said as he looked into the distance. Lin Muyu's hand pressed on the hilt of the sword at her waist, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite shore. Following the splashing sounds of water, huge wooden planks were thrown into the water. The opposite shore was densely packed. At least 5 miles of the demon race's simple and crude warships were everywhere. Luckily, the Fourth Army had enough people and the Empire's defense line was everywhere along the shore. "They're here." Wei Chou gripped the demon-devouring bow tightly, a trace of anticipation and excitement flashing through his eyes. Qin Yan's eyes were filled with deep hatred. He was different from Wei Chou. Qin Yan had personally experienced the Battle of Winter Frost City and knew the cruelty and strength of the demon race. To him, this battle was not to establish a career but to take revenge. Actually, how could Lin Muyu's heart not be like this? How many soldiers of the Empire had been buried in foreign lands and this demon army in front of her had once again stepped into human territory? If they didn't fight, they would die. The sound of water became especially dense. In the distance, a black mass of demon race warships had already crossed the river. Lin Muyu waited quietly until the other party's warships reached the center of the river. She suddenly raised her hand and said, "Wei Chou, send the signal." Wei Chou raised his hand and a rocket soared into the sky. Immediately, the soldiers on the shore all opened the oil barrels that they had prepared, and the thick smell of black beech oil filled their noses. Walala walala. A large amount of black beech oil was quickly poured into the water and spread out. The entire west bank seemed to have turned black in an instant. "Dang!" Lin Muyu slowly pulled out her sword, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite side and said, "Prepare the fire!" The group of soldiers all raised their torches high up. "Please don't retreat." Lin Muyu prayed softly in the bottom of his heart. They didn't disappoint him. The demon army continued to row forward with the bamboo and were getting closer and closer. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu watched their movements from afar. She suddenly frowned and said, "Be careful of their spear-throwing attack. Raise your heavy shields." Everyone raised their shields in front of them. As expected, black shadows whizzed over in the night wind. The tyrannical and powerful spears fell on the west shore. The armor demons had such strong arm strength to be able to throw such powerful spears from over 100 meters away. In the next moment, the shield soldiers on the west shore howled miserably. Many people were still pierced through by the spears and died in battle. Looking at the collapsed shield formation, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown and loudly said, "Brothers, steady!" Under his loud shout, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp all replaced their fallen comrades and raised the shield formation again. The armor demons were getting closer and closer. Qin Yen said, "Big brother, the armor demons can fly. Although it's not far, let's start a fire. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if they fly to the shore." "Yes, fire." Lin Muyu took the lead and threw thousands of torches into the river. Splash! Flames shot up into the sky, and the light blue flames spread rapidly on the surface of the water. The entire Rice River seemed to have turned into a sea of fire, and how could the speedily moving ship stop? In an instant, all the ships at the front were set ablaze, and under the night breeze, the flames spread to the ships at the back. Countless armor demons were dancing in the fire. Although the armor demons had thick skin and rough flesh, once the wings behind them were burned, they were really finished. In an instant, many armor demons all jumped off the ship. However, they didn't know how to swim. They just flopped a few times and sank one after another. They were buried in Rice River. Ha ha ha! The Empire soldiers on the west shore roared with laughter. Their faces were filled with endless excitement and joy. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and looked at the square ships that were still moving in the fire. She loudly said, "Don't underestimate the enemy. Prepare for close combat. They're coming. Everyone be careful." Sure enough, although it was on fire, the momentum of the square ships didn't stop. They quickly reached the shore. Armor demons covered in flames pounced on them, although most of them fell to the ground and cried miserably halfway. "Shoot them to death with arrows," Qin Yen loudly said. Thousands of arrows were fired on the shore. Perhaps the fire made the armor demons lose the protection of their hard armor. Very soon they were shot into hedgehogs. They fell to the ground while screaming miserably. Their screams were indescribably mournful and desolate. Roar! Behind them, there were still a large number of armor demons coming ashore. Lin Muyu held her long sword and rushed forward, guarding the perimeter of the fire formation. With a wave of her long sword, Sword Chi swept out in an arc, rapidly chopping 3 armor demons into pieces. Qin Yen also held the fire serpent spear and stood at the forefront, stabbing a few armor demons to death with a thrust and retraction of the spear. At the same time, the dragon scale armor on his body shone brightly, bouncing off the javelins of the armor demons. Kill! The morale of the Longdan army camp was greatly boosted. Everyone rushed forward with their sabers and tore the armor demons into pieces. However, some armor demons were very tenacious. They roared and waved their battle axes in the crowd. It was the first time for the soldiers of the Longdan army camp to feel the terror of the armor demons. When a group of people besieged and killed an armor demon, 2 or 3 people would be killed. The entire coast of Daojiang River had almost become a sea of fire. The armor demon corps launched attacks one after another. However, batches of them were shot and chopped on the shore. The tactic of the Longdan army camp was very simple. They let those unkillable armor demons enter the depth of the camp. A group of shield-bearers would surround them and kill the armor demons with the help of the spearmen. In this way, the casualties could be minimized to the greatest extent. Swish! The sword light flashed past, and another armor demon's head was chopped off. Lin Muyu rushed back and forth on the shore, as if she was possessed. Suddenly, she raised her fist and directly struck out with chaos of the common life, blasting 5 armor demons that were on fire on the shore into a pile of minced meat. "Watch out for the sky!" Qin Yen suddenly looked up. As expected, many winged people appeared in the sky with longbows in their hands. They looked ferocious under the illumination of the fire. They shot arrows from the sky and killed many soldiers of the Dragon Empire. "You're courting death," Wei Chou turned around and shot an arrow into the sky, directly piercing through the heart of a winged being. He suddenly turned his body. The martial spirit's radiance flourished. After flicking away the winged being's arrows, he shot another arrow, killing another winged being. More and more archers aimed at the sky. If the winged people wanted to kill, they had to get close to the ground. However, their numbers could not be compared with the army of the Dragon Empire. Their corpses kept falling from the sky like rain. Chapter 362. The fire illuminated the riverbank red. With the counterattack of the Imperial Army, the winged demons could only give up on their aerial attacks, leaving thousands of corpses on the riverbank. They probably didn't expect there to be so many sharpshooters in the Imperial Army. In fact, they were just unlucky to run into the Longdan Army camp. Most of the soldiers in the Longdan Army camp were from the temple camp, and the soldiers were originally staff of the temple. They were all skilled in archery, so how could they not be proficient in archery? At the same time, the same thing happened at the other crossings along the riverbank. According to Feng Jixing's order, all the armies started to attack with fire. For a moment, the entire riverbank seemed to be coated with a layer of fire. The screams of the demons echoed endlessly. The armored demons knew that they were going to die, but they still kept charging towards the riverbank, as if they had received some kind of order. Until the latter half of the night, there were no more armored demons' square boats coming from the opposite bank. The flames in the river gradually died out, and the Imperial soldiers along the riverbank began to clean up the battlefield. The corpses of the armored demons and winged people were dragged into the depths of the forest, burned, and buried. Lin Muyu also explicitly ordered everyone who handled the corpses to cover their mouths and noses with cloth to prevent the plague from spreading. However, it seemed that the armored demons were quite healthy and didn't get infected. In the early hours of the morning, the sky turned white, but there was still smoke rising from the riverbank. Many of the armored demons' corpses were still smoking and burning. The armored demons were afraid of fire and water. This was the last straw for the Empire. Lin Muyu's face was full of gray marks. She simply wiped it off and went to the wounded barracks to check on the situation. Although they killed a lot of enemies in this battle, the Empire still lost a lot of soldiers. The barracks was filled with wounded soldiers groaning in pain. Many of them were injured by the armored demons, and some even had their arms or legs cut off. The medical officers of the spiritual medicine department were bandaging and treating the wounded. Fortunately, there was an abundance of herbs here. Every wounded soldier could be treated, saving many lives. "Commander!" A wounded soldier hurriedly tried to get up to pay his respects. Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped forward to support him and said, "No need to be so polite. Lie down." The wounded soldier nodded gratefully and said, "Commander, this lowly one killed an armored demon. That's not bad. Did the clerk record it?" "Yes, he has. He said that I will at least be promoted to sergeant when I return to Lanyan City." "That's great. Rest well." "Thank you, Commander." After inspecting the casualty barracks, she returned to the central military tent. Lin Muyu's entire body was exhausted, and she sat down on the commander's seat. The martial spirit Golden Gourd slowly absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish her expended fighting energy, while Qin Yen carried over a large bowl of meat soup and 3 large flatbreads, saying with a smile, "Big brother, eat something first. Killing for an entire night, you're definitely hungry." "Yes." Lin Muyu was so hungry that her stomach was growling. She took the food and wolfed it down. She looked up and said, "Ah Yen, summon the clerk. I want to hear the post-war statistics." "Yes." A few minutes later, a clerk walked in with a file. After bowing respectfully, he said, "Commander Yu, we killed a total of 7,248 armored demons and 1124 winged people in this battle. There were no captives. They didn't send out any high-level demons. All the corpses of the armored demons and winged people have been immediately disposed of, either buried or burned. Tell me about our situation." Lin Muyu said. We. The clerk's expression was not very good. He said, our army has a total of 6,874 soldiers who died in battle. More than 13,000 were injured, and 25 are missing. So many people died in battle. Lin Muyu frowned and said, record the list of those who died in battle in detail and send it back to Lanyan City. The Ministry of Revenue will distribute the pensions. Yes, my lord. The clerk said again. We only have 500 barrels of black beech oil left. Understood. You may leave. Yes. At this moment, Wei Chou and Feng Shi walked in side by side covered in blood. Wei Chou's face still carried the excitement of the battle. He said, your subordinates greet my lord. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at them, then lowered her head to drink a big mouthful of meat soup. She asked, have you eaten? Yes, my lord. We don't have enough black beech oil. Immediately urged the Ministry of War to prepare more. Without black beech oil, it will be very difficult to gain the upper hand in the next demon attack. Yes. Wei Chou grinned and said, it's said that all the black beech trees in Songnan province have been cut down. The Ministry of Revenue has mobilized more than 500,000 civilians to collect black beech oil. Even the black beech oil in the Seven Stars Forest has been almost completely collected. I'm afraid this fire attack tactic can't be carried out for a while. Fortunately, we killed a lot of demons this time and should be able to intimidate them. How is the battle situation of the other corps? Lin Muyu asked. Wei Chou said, according to the information we just received, our fourth corps has the most gains and the least losses. Lin Muyu was stunned. How is the situation of the other corps? Wei Chou took out the paper scroll at his waist and said after unfolding it, the first corps led by Feng Jixing has killed more than 5,000 armor demons and lost more than 10,000 of their own. The second corps led by Su Yu has killed more than 3,500 armor demons and lost more than 8,000 of their own. The third corps led by Xiang Yu has killed more than 11,000 armor demons and lost more than 32,000 of their own. Yao Yuan and Su Long's positions are untouched. The 7th Corps' Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers have killed more than 1,000 armor demons and lost more than 9,000 of their own. My God! Lin Muyu couldn't help but put down the flatbread in her hand. She said in astonishment, what is Xiang Yu doing? More than 30,000 people died? Yes. Wei Chou said, Lord Xiang Yu's position has been attacked by nearly 20,000 armor demons. Therefore, the losses are quite high. Then what are the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers doing? They killed more than 1,000 armor demons and lost more than 9,000 of their own? Lin Muyu asked angrily, are those two vegetarians? Qin Yan said, Big brother, the spy I arranged in the 7th Corps sent me a letter. He said that the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers were drinking and looking for pleasure. The day before yesterday, they were having fun with the camp concubines. They only woke up yesterday afternoon and delayed the battle arrangements. When the armor demons were crossing the river, their black beech oil wasn't completely connected. Therefore, more than 1,000 armor demons took advantage of the situation and went ashore. They could only fight in close combat. That's why they lost so many of their own. Only 1,000 armor demons. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. 50,000 people can drown these armor demons with just a mouthful of saliva. What are Tang Lu and Tang Tian, these two marquises, doing? They are actually playing with the camp concubines. Simply disgraceful. Wei Chou said with a smile. Commander, calm your anger. That's right, I just received a letter. Her Highness Yin will be escorted by Zhang Wei to our Maple Forest ferry position at a later time. They will arrive around nighttime. Her Highness's intention is to inspect the 4th Corps. But from what this general sees, Her Highness is only concerned about Commander. Lin Muyu grinned. What exactly do you want to say? Wei Chou laughed. This general wants to say to immediately order people to boil water. Commander should take a hot bath and go to bed early. Tonight, change into a new set of armor and go see Her Highness. Don't be rude. Isn't that right, Commander? Lin Muyu glared at him and said, when the two armies are facing off, Be serious. Don't be so mischievous all day. Yes, this subordinate will order people to boil water for commander. That's right, Su Yu's position did not have any battles. So she personally led 2,000 Imperial cavalry to escort 4,000 barrels of black beach oil to us. They will arrive around the same time as Her Highness N got it. She really sent charcoal in snowy weather. Aunt Rue is reliable. Then this subordinate will go down. Good. Lin Muyu wolfed down the rest of the food. When he returned to his own barracks, the water was already boiled. After taking a bath, he hurriedly went to sleep. As the commander of the frontline army, he must recuperate his spirit. Although the demon race had killed a lot of the Empire's army in this battle, it should be considered as a crushing defeat for the demon race. They would definitely not let this matter rest. In his dreams, countless silhouettes floated past. He heard weeping sounds, heard miserable howls, and seemed to hear Qin Yin's soft voice, like a young girl's yearning. He also seemed to hear Tang Xiaoxi's voice, crying loudly, as if pouring out her despair. In his dreams, the collision of the windcutter blade and the bloodthirsty spear appeared. He heard Xiang Yu's loud laughter, and heard Feng Jixing's angry roars. When he woke up, it was already nightfall. "Commander, dinner is ready. Shall I bring it in?" Wei Chou said outside the tent. "And bring it in." "Thank you, Wei Chou." "Commander, you're welcome. Are there any movements from the demon race?" "No, not a single movement. Strengthen the defenses." "Yes." At this time, outside the demon race's tent, Chen Feng's sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted. He paced back and forth in the open space with a gloomy expression. He said to the guard beside him, "Is Her Highness still sleeping?" "Yes." The guard cupped his fists and said, "Marshal Chen Feng, why don't you go back and rest first? It seems that Her Highness won't wake up for a while." "Rest? How can I rest?" Chen Feng was slightly angry and said, "We have lost nearly 30,000 armored demon warriors in this battle. This is a crushing defeat that our god race has never suffered before. You want me to rest?" The guard was silent like a cicada in winter. "Marshal, this subordinate knows his mistake. Please forgive me." Chen Feng didn't argue with him and said, "Go in and report again. Say that Chen Feng has an urgent matter and wants to see Her Highness." "This?" The guard looked embarrassed. "Marshal, please don't make things difficult for me. Her Highness the Third Prince said that no one is allowed to disturb his rest. If the Third Prince gets angry, I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep my head." "What are you afraid of? I'm here. No one can touch you." Chen Feng was a little angry. He stretched out his hand and pushed, "Get out of my way. I must see Her Highness immediately." Voila! The moment the curtain of the tent was opened, Chen Feng saw that the Third Prince's bed was empty. He was stunned and said, "Her Highness! Where is Her Highness?" The guard trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground, saying, "Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness went out with her personal guards at dusk." She said that she had received news that the human Empress Qin Yin had left the camp. Her Highness the Third Prince had decided to assassinate the Empress Qin Yin in the Unicorn Forest. So they have already gone. Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness asked me to do this. Chen Feng was so angry that his whole body trembled. Nonsense. Simply nonsense. Do you really think that there are no experts in the human race? You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.